That's all right.
My oldest daughter.
Oh, that's
She's
more
in
important.
California.
We can wait. We can wait, no problem. The hour being 7:01 PM on Monday, October 23rd, 2023. I'd like to call to order the City of Laconia City Council meeting. Before we go any further, though, I would ask Counselor Felch if you would be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We're joined this evening by Recording Secretary Katie Gargano. I'd ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Here?
Counselor Susie,
Here.
Counselor Littman,
Here.
Counselor Haynes,
Here.
Counselor Bogart,
Here.
Counselor Felch,
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
Mayor Hosmer is here as well. We're also joined this evening at council table by City Manager Kirk Biotti and Finance Director Glenn Smith. I will request that the council go into a non-public session at the end of our agenda this evening. When we return out of the non-public session, it will be to adjourn the public portion of the city council meeting. City council will not take up any additional business after we return from non-public session this evening. Agenda item 7, which is acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. City Council regular meeting minutes of October 10th, 2023 were distributed to the members of the City Council on October 19th, 2023. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. Moving on to agenda item number 9, citizen comments for matters not on the agenda. If there's anyone here this evening who would like to speak to a matter that is not on our agenda, now would be the appropriate time. I'd ask you to please step forward, introduce yourself at the microphone. Let us know what you're thinking. Seeing none, no one coming up, I'd like to move along to agenda item number 13, 13A, which is the public hearing for Resolution 2023-28 relative to acceptance of Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program Grant in the amount of $810,000. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the October 13th, 2023 Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:03 p.m., and if there's anyone here who would like to speak to this matter, now would be the appropriate time. Patrick Wood is on the move.
Patrick Wood, Ward 3. This is on the Invest New Hampshire funds. I would strongly recommend that you accept this investment fund, Investment New Hampshire funds. But I would ask you to consider, when you do accept it, earmarking this funds for affordable housing in the city of Laconia. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak during the public hearing on this matter? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:04 p.m. This item may be taken up, will be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. Agenda item 13B, public hearing for Resolution 2023-29 relative to a proposed boundary line adjustment between Pimlico Realty Holdings LLC and the City of Laconia. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the October 13th, 2023 edition of Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:05 p.m. Anyone who'd like to come up and speak to the matter, now would be the appropriate time. Welcome again.
Thank you, Patrick Wood, Ward 3. I think this is a great opportunity for the city of Laconia. It sort of fits in with the plan for upgrading things downtown. It's an opportunity for a business owner, a property owner, to make substantial improvements to a building that will add tremendous positive things to the city of Laconia. So I support this.
Thank you. Welcome.
Warren Clement, Ward 1, resident of the city of Laconia, and a 50-year member of downtown Laconia. I strongly endorse this program, this project, to take that building, which is basically only used on the first floor. Now you'll get, over the course of some time, second, third floors used. You spent $18 million on the theater to create a better downtown, to attract investment, to attract business, and it worked. So I strongly encourage you to continue that. I'm also on the board of Celebrate Laconia. We had a meeting Monday night, and we talked about this, and the board unanimously supports the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Anyone else like to speak to this? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing on this matter at 7:06 PM. I'd like to move along to item number 15, which is Mayor's Report. As you know, this weekend is Pumpkin Fest here in the city of Laconia. I think everyone I speak to in downtown Laconia and the surrounding area is excited to be here. We are look forward to our visitors in the city, and I just can't wait. I'm so glad that we have it. I'm so glad it's downtown, where I think it belongs, and I'm going to keep my mayor's report short, and that's it this evening. I'd look to councilors for council comments. Councilor Felch.
Yeah, I just want to make everybody aware that Levitt Park is having their table treat on Sunday from 5:30 to 7. Bring the kids by and get some candy and have some fun.
Thank you, Councilor Felch. Any other council comments? How about committee reports? Do you have any committee reports? Councilor Litton.
The Finance Committee met earlier this evening to consider the funding and financial terms for the sewer system upgrades, the sanitary sewer system upgrades, the fire truck that's in the budget, and then ambulance replacements. I guess what the committee is kind of hoping to have a consensus thought on with respect to the ambulances is, understanding the age of our current ambulances and conditions, and a lead time that could be more than 2 years to acquire new ones, as to whether there's a consensus position to start to develop our financial plan around the assumption that we'd be acquiring 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we would, if that was the case, it would be to ask you to schedule a public hearing on those, on that item, and then between that and the second public hearing, we would continue to work on a plan. Looks like the bond bank, municipal bond bank, is probably the better option for us to go at, and so we'll be working on developing that based on the direction and public hearing on the project.
Thank you, Councilor Littman. Any other committee reports? How about liaison reports? Do we have any liaison reports this evening? Councilor
Mayor-
Cheney, yes.
Mr. Mayor, and I'm not sure this is a liaison report, but I did attend the Weirs Action Committee meeting recently, and I thought I would report if that's. There was discussion about a number of things they're doing in the Weirs, irrigation systems being rebuilt and that sort of thing. There was discussion about rebuilding the beach. There was concern expressed about our fireworks ordinance and what impact it might have on them. So I hope we can at some point firm up the language so that they're not concerned. Their treasurer's report indicated they had $87,000 in the savings account and $11,000 in the checking account. They talked at length about the beach fund and their hopes to help with, I think I understood they wanted to help with the beach rebuilding. Last thing was sort of a freewheeling discussion about gambling in the weirs. I didn't mean that quite the way it came out. I meant that there was a discussion about the possibility that there might be gambling establishments created in the weirs. And I assured them that, to the best of my knowledge, the council had not made any definitive decisions with regards to that. If that's not true, I'll be happy to report back to them the next time I'm there. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Counselor Cheney.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I might, Counselor Cheney raises an issue that I had a conversation with a constituent, and they raised the same issue about, and I think, and probably it needs to be put in writing, in wording, that the ordinance had nothing to do with municipal-sponsored fireworks, to my knowledge, which includes the city of Laconia, the Weirs, and all. It was about citizens with, that need to have,
But the fireworks in the weirs are not city-sponsored fireworks.
well, they are, aren't they? I mean, it's a Weirs action.
Yes, but
Well,
I think that's the point.
yeah, but they're professional fireworks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was not, you're right, Councilor Haynes, this was for professional fireworks, holidays, federal holidays, weekends, were exempt from that.
Right.
If we need to go back and tighten up the language, I'll call I have another meeting coming up soon, we'll fix it then,
I think we do,
okay?
personally. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you,
I
Counselor
will-
Haynes.
I would say most of their fireworks are on the weekends, so they're covered anyhow. But I think the only ones that we normally have would be Motorcycle Week, which they could come before the council and ask of them.
Thank you.
One of the concerns was, you just mentioned, most of the fireworks were on the weekend, but Fourth of July fireworks could be on a Tuesday.
But
I
we
think there was
allowed
also a
that.
clause in there for
Hold on,
federal
how about,
holidays.
hold on, Counselor, let Counselor Cheney finish and
I-
talk over each other.
I don't disagree with your word, I'm just saying, if the committee cleans that up so it's more
We can do that,
understandable or clear, I think it would be wise.
not a problem.
Counselor Susie, you good?
No, just that, in that we had federal holidays were exempt, and that's July 4th, for example, but we'll go back and clean it up.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Seeing none, agenda item number 19 is opportunity for citizens to comment on current agenda items. There's an agenda on tonight's agenda. If there's an item on tonight's agenda, now would be the appropriate time to come up and speak to it if you like. Welcome.
Good evening. Sean McGuire, Ward 6. I'm here basically as to represent Prescott Ave. We're one of those roads, similar to Mr. Cheney's, that's on this list. I've been working with Paul Moynihan, Luke Powell, Wes Anderson for the past, I don't know how many years, trying to figure out how to fix this problem. Our street is unique in the sense that it's not a long street, but there's many condo associations that are attached to it now. We're looking to expand. I think this is supposedly our last year of being covered under the services of the city. Though we all feel like we're residents, we've all paid our taxes. I've been there since the 60s in that neighborhood, and many of these other residents as well. And we're looking to find how we fix this. We've had multiple meetings with Wes Anderson. Tony Felch has been at some. In many of the condo associations, private homes, we can't come to we were told, I sent out ballots a year and a half ago. We couldn't come to 100%, which is what first we were told it was majority, then we were told it had to be 100% to make everybody happy. I think what I'm finding is, from all of our meetings, that we all want to be part of Laconia. We've all paid taxes. We've always felt like we were part of Laconia. We never felt like a private community. But we did get lumped into that. And our development was from 1927, I believe. Again, the residents there who have bought and sold over the years, including my family, were never really aware that this was gonna be a problem. And when it did arise, I've been on it, I've tried to work with everybody on it, I've sent letters. I just would like everybody to put themselves in my shoes, and obviously, Mr. Cheney, you can. You're paying taxes, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you feel like you're part of the city of Laconia, and then the city of Laconia finds a loophole to try and oust you from getting your services that you've been paying for. Again, I could go on and on. What we're here for tonight is see if we can get an extension on that so that this year doesn't just end it. We have more time to work on this, work with the people in the neighborhood, the condo associations, Wes Anderson, and yourselves. Just to understand our point, that this is what we're looking for. We're not trying to be a private community. We never thought we were. When this came to light, I've tried to educate people who've come in and out of the neighborhood who have bought and didn't realize they weren't a public street. And we'd like to continue that way. Our uniqueness to other streets on that list, I'm a UPS driver, 41 years, I know all these other streets. I live on this street, so I'm pretty aware of what we pay for taxes on our street versus the other streets, what a burden ours would be or wouldn't be. And I'm looking for everybody to just hopefully vote in favor of giving us an extension and at some point giving us some guidance how to make ourselves part of the paying taxes so that we can continue to be where we've been, get our plowing and our trash pickup. And I think there's probably others that would like to speak as well.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. I appreciate you speaking. Anyone else like to speak to items on tonight's agenda?
Yes, it's on that same item, the item about Prescott Ave. My name's Claire Bennett, Ward 6. Good evening, Councillor Felch. And everybody, thank you for putting this on the agenda tonight. I'd just like to support really what Sean has said, that we really do hope that you'll give us an extension because we're finding this a particularly complex matter. I mean, we're just ordinary people living on the street, and we're trying to deal with 100 different units with all different sorts of criteria and aims, and it's just not proving very easy. So we don't want to give up because, as Sean said, we would really like to get to a point where we can continue having city services that we're paying for and being an accepted street. So an extension to the deadline of at least a year, if not more, but at least a year, would really help us, I think. So there we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Welcome.
My name's Mark Hamill, Chelmsford, Mass. I own property on Paugus Ave. My family's owned it since 1985. There has been seemed to be the implication that the road was public. That was the look and feel when we purchased the properties, when my parents purchased the property. I've seen utility poles come in. I've done some deed research over the past. I mean, utility poles are erected on Paugus Ave. I would imagine that there'd be some kind of petition or easements granted for that. And just over the years, just services, plows, trash pickup has been performed on the streets, and like I said, there's been the appearance of being a public service road, and we're just trying to understand the process. We also feel that it's a unique area with Prescott Ave, with the new stormwater requirements, and with the number of people in the street. It's difficult, as the previous people can attest to. It's been difficult to get responses from people, let alone consensus, and that's been very difficult. And the concern that some of us have is with current stormwater regulations, if there are issues along that street, we have multiple owners, with the assumption again that other entities would be taking care of this. As it was alluded to, the subdivision was approved or recorded in 1927. So we feel that it's a unique situation that could be looked carefully. I think there's property owners that are willing. I personally am willing to contribute to a betterment process, but I think we would like from this council some assistance and navigation in that process. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else requesting an opportunity to speak, I'd like to move on to agenda item number 20, City Manager's Report. Turn it over to Kirk Biotti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet tonight, you have two documents. First one is your project update. Excuse me. Paugus and Granite Streets are being worked on right now, nearing their completion. Beacon Street West parking lot is, if you've driven over there, you'll see it all torn up. That's being repaved and remilled. There was also some additional electrical and gas line work that was done at the same time, so quite a bit of work that went on over there, and that's in its process to be paved this week. Skipping down, I don't want to move too quickly, but skipping down, Academy Street Bridge is no change, Centenary Ave Bridge is no change. Both of those are still under review. Highland Street Bridge is complete, which I think we talked about last month, but it was on here, so that was completed, a little bit ahead of schedule. Messer Street Bridge is nearing its wrap-up, looking at November 3rd to have it fully paved and operational, so a long project, but nearing its end there. No changes with those two. No change on the TAP project up on Elm Street. They're finishing up the paving on a different section up there. That project is still moving forward. Again, not trying to move too quickly. I'll be glad to help with any of these as we move along. The Weirs Beach restoration, we have no update. Our Director of Parks and Rec has been working on this, working on a plan. What we were looking to do may not go through DES, so we'll not be able to get passed through DES. So we're still working on that project. And now listening to what Councilor Cheney said, that the Weirs Action Committee is looking to continue to be a part of it. We'll reach out and continue that conversation with them as well. No update on the Native American sculpture at this point, and that's all I have under the project. I know I moved relatively quickly, but
Councilor
there's not a lot of
Susie,
changes in this month's report.
you open to a question from Councilor Susie?
Yep.
The detector plates at Guilford Avenue, Dewey Street, will those be done this year? The ADA?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Littman.
Do we need, with respect to the Weirs Beach restoration, that's been stuck for a while now in terms of, you need some professional expertise to help deal with the permitting issues that are involved with that?
And I don't know, I can't speak to how much, I can't speak to how much has gone on previously with the permitting. I do know that DES and Amy have taken, she's been working with them a lot more than maybe it has been in the past, because we are trying to get to some of those answers.
All due respect
faster.
to Amy, it's been stuck for a while.
No, it's been a while.
And I think, I think we ought to really assess whether we need to get some permitting expertise with respect to
Yep, we can work on that.
navigating that. I know we ran into the Army Corps of Engineers being part of the issue, and then DES being part of the issue. It just seems, if you've never done one of these issues before, you're kind of at a great disadvantage of advancing anything.
Agreed.
And I think if a call to former manager Myers might help I think he has some good background on, he worked the issue for a while.
Can work on that.
Any other questions? No, seeing none?
The second packet is your monthly economic report. You'll see our unemployment numbers are pretty much equal to right around where the state and county are. And on the second page is your annual monthly CPI update. Fourth straight month we've stayed in the threes for that number, annualizing out just over 4.4. As we come down to the last quarter of the year, we'll have our updated numbers for tax cap calculation purposes. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Littman.
DRA feedback, when do we expect to have that? Department of Revenue Administration,
The tier rates.
tax rate calculation.
We have the information on schedule to get that next month on schedule, as typical. We have everything into the DRA now except the MS1, which should be finished within the next probably week and a half.
Thank you. What's the MS1?
Assess valuation.
Thank you. Any other questions for city manager? Yes.
Maybe I just don't understand, but weren't we gonna talk about some of these roads tonight?
It's on the agenda for a little bit later tonight
Okay,
as a separate,
all right,
as an item. We put it on as an item.
didn't find it.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to item number 21, new business. Item 21A, Resolution 2023-31, declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property. Kirk, could you lead us through this discussion, please?
Absolutely. So we have an unsolicited proposal from the owner of 42 Woodland Ave, looking to purchase the lot that we own next to it. It is a very small lot, non-buildable the way it stands right now. Because of our water line that runs through there, without moving the water line, you couldn't build right on top of that because of the easement that we require. So they made a request to purchase it. I reviewed it with the water department, and as long as they have their easement, they're fine with selling it. I think you, I don't want to speak for the commission, but I know that went through the commission as well and was spoken to. So we have no need for it the way it stands with the city, other than the easement, which if you look at that neighborhood, pretty much every property has the same easement for this line going through. This one just happens to be vacant. And so we'd be looking to make the surplus. What we're looking for tonight is a public hearing for you to approve it to be declared surplus, and then we can move through with the sale if that happens.
Which ward is this in?
2.
2, thank you.
And as the manager explained, yeah, we met as a water commission, reviewed it, spoke to the owners of the property and the developer, and we were unanimously approved doing that, okay?
Okay.
They're gonna provide an easement for us, so if we ever needed it for some reason.
Excellent. All right, so we have a series of 3 motions here. The first one, looking for a motion to move to waive a reading of the resolution 2023-31 in its entirety and to read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to move a first reading of resolution 2023-31 relative to declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property, so made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, looking to move to schedule a public hearing on November 13th, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input regarding resolution 2023-31 relative to declaring city-owned property at tax map 407/247/35 as surplus property prior to any action being taken. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Bogart. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask if you're in favor, raise your hands. 6 votes. That motion passes as well. Thank you. Moving along to item number 21B, which is the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. As we'll all recall, on September 11, 2023, a representative of Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire provided a presentation to the City Council, inviting the city to become a member of the nonprofit coalition. Kirk, want to walk us through where we're at with this at this point?
Sure. So you've had if you go through their steps, you've had your presentation, which is piece number 1. The next piece would be to adopt a joint powers agreement, basically getting us into the system. That's the piece that they talked about that was non-binding. And at the same time, to have a primary and a secondary rep to their board of directors, and to establish whatever type of committee you would like to look at. A lot of places have an energy committee. For some of them, it's a select board. to determine if they want to continue to move through the process. Once we sign on to agree with them, to sign the joint powers of agreement, they would help, for lack of a better term, walk us through the process to get us through the endpoint for approval to join the commission, the Power Coalition. I'm not necessarily looking for a vote tonight on the agreement, because I know you haven't had a chance to read it necessarily. This was a kind of a late thing to put on. But you had the presentation. What I was looking for is consensus to continue to move forward, to get you the joint powers agreement, sort of set up the process so you can see that. And if you had any questions ahead of time, to bring back to them or to be able to answer for you. So that's kind of what I was looking for tonight.
You're looking for a little guidance.
Yeah.
Counselor Cheney.
As the one who originally asked for this presentation, I would like to point out to the council that my understanding is no one is forced to go into this Community Power Coalition. So what we're doing is, and I hope everyone will support the idea of offering people a lower electric rate, unless they have some reason to pay more, want to pay more. I think this is an outstanding opportunity for us to do something for the citizens of Laconia. I watched, some of you may have, on Sunday on the news, a discussion about this, and the rates were, if not significant, they certainly were lower than what competitive utilities were charging. So I just want to...
Based on that, what, do you have a motion of any sort to suggest what the city...
So I would like, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that the council express support for moving towards joining the Community Power Coalition.
Thank you. Counselor Susie, go right ahead, sorry. Raised his hand first.
My question before the second, is that, there was, if we could ask the city clerk to go back, and when we had the presentation, there was a gentleman here not making the presentation, but another one who came up and supported the whole concept, and he had prior experience in this whole thing, and we made a comment, in fact, I think you, Mr. Mayor, made the comment, we should look at him to be the representative that we would like to appoint to the commission.
Great,
Is that-
good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Littman.
I'm supportive of the concept. I think it presents another option. I think we should spend a little time having a little bit more. I think we should look at the agreement. I think we should have a public hearing to make sure we have citizen input, because it's the type of thing that if we don't explain what's going on, people might think that they're being forced to do something that they're not being forced to do. It may not always be the cheapest electric rate. You could buy into a very cheap rate, but then it might have a lot more volatility. This is, I think, an option for a consumer who's not looking to shop their electric rate every single month, kind of thing that represents a potentially a good deal for it. So I'm supportive of moving ahead with having the agreement, taking a look at the participating agreement, you know, having a discussion, allowing the public to take a little more public input on it. And I think that would, you know, sunlight's the best disinfectant, if you will.
Like the second council.
You'll second that motion, okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion put forward by Counselor Cheney?
I'd just like to add, it's my understanding the rates are set for a year, not fluid.
No, I was just saying that in terms, this is important. I think these are the types of things I think should be clear to
Okay.
the public, which is
Fair enough.
how does this all work? Because you don't want to say this is the cheapest rate. It may not be at a given point in time. It pools purchasing power. They're not, there are all sorts of ways to buy electricity, and this is, I think, a sensible way for someone who's not in the market continuously to do it.
And you do have the option to bow out at any
Yes.
point, so.
Any further discussion on the motion? Does the motion give you enough direction?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes to the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21C, renewal of lease agreement with Happy Tales Dog Park, of the Lakes Region. Happy Tales Dog Park of the Lakes Region has requested the city renew its license agreement for the park located on Growth Road. The original agreement, which commenced on September 1st, 2018, provided for 3 5-year renewals of the agreement with the consent of both parties. Happy Trails Dog Park has submitted a request to renew the lease agreement. Please refer to the package that you received it, which is attached. It's a revocable license agreement, renewal document, as well as the original agreement. Kirk, is there anything that you would like to add to this right now?
When you look at the contract that was attached, that is the old one, so anything, the only change that would be making is the dates to go out to the September 1st of 2028. So other than that, that's, as you see in front of you with those date changes.
Counselor.
Have we had any issues with
Yeah.
the park and its maintenance?
No, I have not heard any. We did, they handle the day-to-day operations. I know they recently had, the first issue I've heard of in the year in this position, with an animal, but they took care of it. They handled it on their own. Otherwise, I haven't heard any complaints of how that's operating over there.
So every time I'm around the area, it's
Yeah.
well used.
I don't think I've ever gone there and not seen
Yeah.
people there using it, so it seems like it's going well.
Counselor Susie.
Just one question, was there an issue in regards to the new building or apartment complex that's being built right there? Was there some kind of an issue that came up earlier?
And the dog park?
Right, between the layout or planning boards or something?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Thank you.
All right. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to approve the request to renew the city's revocable license agreement with Happy Tales Dog Park of the Lakes Region for an additional 5-year period terminating on September 1st, 2028. So made by Counselor Bogert, second by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21D, which is Celebrate Laconia is requesting funding from the City of Laconia in the amount of $5,000 for this year's Holiday Lights Festival. The downtown decorations will likely be more expensive this year as they plan to replace the old wreaths with holiday banners and update the lighting for the poles. Please see the attached document. You've been provided with the attached document for details of the Lights Festival budget for this year. And we have, I know Warren Clement is here to answer any questions. Kirk, would you like to add anything to this?
No, I think what it says, shows on there, and as you said, they're here, they're looking for the wreaths, the light poles, just an upgrade of what they have down there, and if we were to approve this, we would use, money out of our ARPA money, towards this.
Okay. Go right ahead, yes.
This is for the city manager. I think there was a conversation back a couple of councils ago that something similar to this be in the budget and not,
It's been a number of years since, so there's a couple different areas in the budget that got sort of combined over the last couple of years. The 4th of July parade and Celebrate Laconia. There's been a number of years now where Celebrate Laconia has a line in the budget, but nothing has been funded for 3 or 4 budget cycles now. There's already a note for moving
Okay.
to the next year's.
that's fine.
So we don't have to do this.
Certainly not
year after year.
opposed to it, but I.
No, I
just-
know what you're getting at, and no, there's a note already in that line for moving forward.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Go right ahead, Counselor Bogert.
Just a question to the city manager or to the government's committee. They're looking at doing banners from the light poles. And I'm just curious if in the new flag/banner ordinance that is getting worked on, that if an applicant applies for the same time period that we would do this, something like this, that the city takes precedence over any other applicant?
Mr. Mayor?
I would just assume that goes without saying.
Right, I agree with
I
what you're
assume
saying.
nothing.
I don't want the
No,
Grinch
no.
wandering around the city just looking to hang something up, so.
We have, if I may,
Oh, of course, yeah.
okay, we haven't passed any policy
Talking to your
yet.
microphone.
We haven't passed any policy yet, we're getting some updated from the applicants. I agree with you, but we, as was mentioned earlier, we'll make sure that language gets cleaned up so that it takes that into full force, okay?
And just to be clear.
Hello,
this-
welcome,
Hi.
and introduce yourself and
Sorry,
reintroduce yourselves.
I'm Daryl Dawson. I'm one of the board members for Celebrate Laconia.
Thanks for all the work you do, Daryl.
Thank you.
And this, I think this whole, sorry to even interrupt you here, but I think everything you guys have been doing downtown over the past few years with the Christmas trees and the lights and things has really been marvelous. So thank you for your work.
Before I start, I'm glad you're going to clean up the language.
Mr.
I've been
Clement-
waiting.
Mr. Clement, anything for you, sir. Age has its factor.
Go right ahead, Daryl, sorry.
So I just want to clarify for the banners that we're talking about, they're really holiday banners. They're not festival banners. So they're meant to be up for the holidays. They are done by local artists. They're winter themed, so we'll take down the ones that are up now that are more summer, generic themed, and these will be more winter themed. And that'll be for, it's not gonna say Celebrate Laconia Lights Festival. It's really just to beautify the downtown. What we're talking about is getting all new banners for the winter, which is we're gonna pay for that, and then also put new lights on the posts that will hopefully last longer than 1 year. The garland lasts about a year, and then we have to get all brand new garland. So this is hopefully lights that will last longer for us, at least a few years before we have to buy new strings for that. We also do so what we're trying to do is do a signature decoration each Christmas. So last year, if you saw the giant wreath that we put on the river down the canal, that was what we're doing, that we did last year, and we're trying to come up with another plan for another sort of signature type decoration for the downtown area as well.
That's great, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
Okay. I was looking at the proposal, and you had the numbers laid out there, okay? And I have a question on that, if I may. Okay.
Sure, certainly, if you're open to a question.
Okay. Mr. Dawson and Warren, I see different pages here with different amounts. I'm trying to see, is there one amount, or is this one plus this one plus this one?
So this is for what we, our budget for the entire thing. So this is for having trees in the parks, this is for having festoon lighting along the canal, this is for that wreath and other signature things like that. It's also for paying bands and participants in the parade, and a couple of other things as well. We're just looking for a portion of that whole event to come from a support from you guys to help us do that. So there's not anything specific to say, this is where that's gonna be. Most of the money that we're gonna be getting from you guys is gonna go towards the light posts on downtown, the banners, and that signature, some new decoration for Christmas, and the festoon lighting along the river, the canal.
What is that number, if I may ask?
It will come to probably, depending on what else we do, it'll probably come to around, that's the, downtown decorations, so it's $1,500 is what we spent for that giant wreath last year to be made. It was about $2,000 to put the festoon lighting along the canal, and then we're looking at probably about $7,000 that will go towards other lighting downtown, but we're not asking for all of that from you guys. We're looking for a portion of that to be paid.
Okay, because I took, maybe I was doing it wrong. I took all the pages together, and I put it together, and it came out to about just under 19,000.
Yes.
And I was wondering if that's what you were looking for. I'm just wondering what you
We're
need.
not looking for that from you guys, no, we're looking for a portion of that to be done. All of that goes towards what we raise for sponsorships and things like that to do the event.
Okay.
And so a good portion of that comes from our local sponsors and businesses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thanks.
I have a question for the city manager.
Okay, sure.
Okay. You said there was funding available through where?
I'll use some of the money out of our ARPA funds for it.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to approve the request for funding from Celebrate Laconia in the amount of $5,000 for this year's holiday festival as presented. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Boger. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Lippman.
So does the motion need to include where the funds are coming from?
Well, let's.
Please do, yes.
Okay, these funds, we're looking for a friendly amendment emotion. We have a friendly emotion too. Friendly amendment to the motion, indicating that the $5,000 would be coming from current ARPA funding. Friendly amendment made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Bogert. All those in favor of the motion, the amendment? Good. All those in favor of the motion as amended? 6 votes in the affirmative for both. Make sense there, Katie? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Item number 21E, which is a request to declare Prescott Avenue an emergency lane.
Point of order before we get into this discussion. What's in front of us is the request to declare it an emergency lane. I think we heard from the testimony earlier that we're not in a position to do that. I guess I'd like to go 2 steps back and say, you know, we heard from the public testimony that this has been in effect since the 1920s. And was it specifically, I want to understand what the record shows with respect to it. Does the plan that was accepted designated as a private road? Or are we assuming because it doesn't say so that it's a private road? Because I'd be inclined to, for something that's been in practice since 1921 or thereabouts to 27, I don't remember which year, is to accept that it is what it has been, and unless there is, you know, documented evidence to the contrary.
And I don't think we have any documented evidence, like, well, as far as we can see right now.
Oh, Wes is trying to grab my attention.
When the developer for the lake houses at Christmas Island did the research for the status of the road, because they had to do that to determine what things that they had to do in regards to their development, they determined that in 1927, Prescott Farms LLC gave the right of way to the abutters on either side of the road unless the city council accepted it at some point in the future. We can find no records that the city council did, and the law at the time said if we didn't take possession of it within 20 years, we automatically lost any rights to it. So that's why they're on the list of having to go through the betterment process versus the accept as is.
Follow up?
Yeah.
Just, so I know when looking at another situation, most recent one was that we had further research done and came up with a different conclusion. I guess has the research on this been looked at by an independent party?
We gave all the records that we had to the city attorney, and they agreed with what we had found.
And is there any way to repair under current law, to repair the 20-year thing where we could accept it?
If we could accept it at any point, really up to your piece, and that's really, but you have to use one of the methods. You either have to use the betterment process, you have to use the layout and return process.
That's only if we agree with what you're saying are the facts.
The prescription was taken away from us in 1968 and had to be maintained by the city for 20 years before then.
Well, I guess what I see is a situation where we've been maintaining something for going on over 80 years. And there's, I think, there ought to be a stronger effort on the part of the city to find a way to navigate the statutory framework here to accept it. I really feel that would put the citizens in a bad place in terms of sort of springing upon them 80 years into the past.
Why can't we go through the betterment process and we're still gonna get to it? It's just gonna take a little, it's not gonna be as immediate. Is that my understanding here? If we,
No, let me,
please.
so the process that you spoke of, maintaining the road for 20 years from 1948, we've done that.
All records indicate that we didn't pick up maintenance until we put the pump station in sometime in the 60s.
Okay. I also want to say that we need to add Paugus Ave to this, and we can make it an emergency lane.
Except that requires everybody to be unanimous, and that, what we heard is that's potentially an issue. I mean,
No, actually, they want it to be continued for an emergency lane, so they have extra time to decide what we're gonna be doing with this.
But the problem is, Tony, that it says everybody on the street has to agree to that.
and if they don't get
And
that,
apparently they have one or more people who don't agree.
If I may, on the betterment process, everyone has to agree.
Right.
On the emergency lane process, it's automatic unless one person says no. If one person says no, then we can't declare it an emergency lane, so it's the opposite effect.
I don't believe anybody has said they don't want it to be an emergency lane.
Well, I think,
They want
well,
to continue service.
that's why we'd put it out for a public hearing then. That would give someone an opportunity to say no. It seems to be the proper way to do it. I hope they don't, but they may. Counselor Susie.
Wes, just to make sure clear, if the residents were here, they're asking for a delay, okay, where is it the end of this year, you're stopping services there, is that?
We had not defined it. It was really depends upon how long it takes to get it. In this particular case, the emergency lane, like what we did with Plantation and Colonial, gives notice that we're gonna allow them enough time to this date. So in this particular case, we can adjust the date, but I've recommended June 1st of 2025. So that would get them through 2 winters, this winter and the next.
So are you asking that we would take a motion to delay this for 2 more years?
You're declaring an emergency lane for 2 more years. That means legally I can plow it. I can do basic maintenance to protect the city's emergency vehicles.
Pick up trash, all that kind of other stuff?
It's not emergency.
It's not an emergency, but the council's guidance when we started the process was we were not gonna discontinue trash service until all elements of it was resolved.
Well, I mean, don't you think we should make it clear to the folks who live in that road that we will continue to plow and continue to pick up trash until we sort of sort this out? And I tend to agree with what they're saying. I mean, we've treated it as a public road for an extended period of time. There's some detrimental reliance there on their part when they purchased the property, and they've continued to, enhance their own property. But all I'm saying is there's gotta be an easier way to get through this,
and I guess I would just say that, the record keeping in the city has sometimes left something to be desired, and if there's evidence of maintenance before 1962, is that the date you said? That could be,
1968, it had to be for 20 years before then.
yeah, if there's evidence of that, and there are families that go back a ways, that would be helpful for you to bring forward. And I think what the mayor recommended until we sort out, I don't think we can sort out tonight that this is the best way to go for the interest of the public who've been served. So I guess I would hope that our position would be is that we'd try to look for a way to make it work as opposed to take the most difficult route to get there.
Could I, Mr. Mayor?
Please do.
Suggest that we take all the roads that we're currently dealing with and extend them to 2 years so that we have time to find what Henry is, what Councilor Lippman is suggesting, a way to finish this, because.
well, I think that's an idea worth considering. I think we'd have to move to another meeting, though, in order to add that formally to the agenda. But I think that perhaps is what is suggested here. If we have a public hearing on November 27th to gather input regarding declaring Prescott Ave an emergency lane, does that get us closer to where we need to be? Councilor Lippman?
My concern is what that ends up doing is postponing the issue for another 3 years. And then we're gonna still have to deal with the issue because the emergency lane, as I read it, if I read it correctly, suggests that that's all that it's good for. And I'm honestly, feel that the council should put these issues behind it because it's unsettling to not know whether you're gonna have services. And
Are you saying, Henry, we accept this as a public street?
I'm looking for a way to do that if there's legitimately can be. And
Agree.
if we can find, we found records in the last instance going back to the 1700s, which gave us, I think, the ability to decide on that. If there was 20 years prior to 1968 that we can identify that there were services, then I think
Well-
that gives us another option to accept it.
And we did put a public, pump station there too.
So I agree with Henry, 100%. We definitely need to look into making this right. And we also need to add Pogus Ave to this, not just Prescott. They're both down in that area.
So are we at the point now, I'm sorry to interrupt, are we at the point now where we should table this, but also let people rest assured, people are residents on that street, that they're not gonna lose services and
Well, I
while we
can
work
tell you
through
right now,
this?
they're guaranteed service for this winter,
Yeah,
but we need to look at it. If we don't get a solution before the deadline, which I think is June,
There is an established deadline for
there
it.
is no established deadline. So we can keep going and you can keep plowing if we don't
But in this
establish.
particular case, you requested for the emergency lane designation, and I followed the procedure that we followed with Plantation and Colonial. So we established a date in that case, and that's why I established.
Well, I just wanted to make sure they continue to get services. That's why I requested that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm concerned about, and I want it to last as long as it needs to until we get this straightened out.
Councilor Cheney.
Mr. Mayor, I had discussions in the past with the manager. I got the impression that council had problems with the 20-year method of claiming the road. I think we should look at that again and try and push as many of these roads through as we can, including this, as quickly as we can. And if tabling it today so that we can make a concerted effort at the next meeting to start the process to accept these roads, I'd make the motion to table with the understanding they're gonna continue to get service until we settle this issue.
Okay. So Councilor Cheney has offered a motion to table, which is non-debatable. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Susie.
Just have a question, procedurally, can we just, is it just a tabling motion? Because it's more than a tabling motion with what you described.
Yeah, it's gotta be just simply a tabling motion, but I believe that we can create a legislative or a body record in instructing the city manager to make sure that our wishes are adhered to, right?
And that's part of my motion.
Okay, so all those in favor of the tabling motion, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative. Is it clear to the city manager what our position is on this? That this is we're still untangling a web in some respects?
Yes.
But until we've untangled it and got us to a position where I hope we adopt it as a public road, if I hear this correctly, if I hear the council correctly, the residents on that street, those 2 streets, Prescott and Pogus, will continue to receive services until
Correct.
we untangle
Yep.
this.
That's correct.
I could just,
Please do.
we could use the help of the residents of that area to help us look at what has happened between what date and what date, Councilor Phelps?
I will work with them.
48 and
Yeah, yeah,
67,
we can.
68?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Phelps.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks who came here on that item, for your patience. Just understand there is a certain way that we have to go about it, as much as we'd like to, I think, as a body, solve it tonight for you, because I don't think there's anyone up here who disagrees with you. We want to make sure to get it right, so we only have to do it once, and, okay. So, thank you for your patience. Moving on to unfinished business. Agenda item 22A, which is Resolution 2023-28 relative to acceptance of Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program Grant in the amount of $810,000. As council knows, this grant has been awarded for the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program. These grant funds are in relation to the approvals of the Village at Province Street, 244 Province Street project. Go right ahead, City Manager Beatty.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city applied for grant. This is through Bureau of Economic Affairs with the state. Their ARPA money. It is, as you said, it was the per unit program, $10,000 per unit for affordable housing units being built in the city or in any community. What they're looking for is not only as an incentive for builders to build this type of housing, but also incentive for municipalities to work with them, not to fast track, not to speed through processes, not to skip anything, but to work with them on their projects. We have been with this particular project. They've hit a few snags, but things seem to be moving pretty well for them at this point. Still working on one issue, and because of that, we were awarded this grant. And if you approve to accept it. We have no intended earmark for it at this point, but we're looking to accept the money.
So, thank you, City Manager. So this money still has to be approved by Governor Council, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so not like, nothing really happens as financially speaking until that's approved, that vote is made, and then the funds would come here. So we
Yes.
wouldn't be looking to commit any of these funds to anything before that vote occurs.
No, which hopefully will be at their next meeting. We did kind of talk to them ahead of time, but as a placeholder, we don't know if it's on the agenda or not. Most likely would be on the one following.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions right now before we look at the motions? Seeing none, we have a series of 3 motions. First one is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2023-28 relative to acceptance of Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program Grant in the amount of $810,000. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Next, we're looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2023-28 relative to acceptance of Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program Grant in the amount of $810,000. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2023-28 relative to authorizing the city manager to accept and expend the Invest NH Municipal Per Unit Program Grant in the amount of $810,000, and to authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this grant. So made by Counselor Bogert, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Thank you. Item number 22B, Resolution 2023-29, relative to a proposed boundary line adjustment between Pemmico Realty Holdings LLC and the City of Laconia. As we know, we had a previous public hearing this evening where 2 people spoke in favor. No one was opposed to this. We are familiar with this as we set it up for a public hearing because it was 2 weeks ago that the proposal was made to us by Pemmico Realty Holdings. We have a series of 3 motions here. I'm looking at council right now. Are there questions that you'd like to pose? I know that Pemmico is here, and the city manager is here, of course, and Wes is here as well, because this will impact, we'll be gaining some parking spaces, but will impact some of the city-owned property. Go right ahead.
Just as a reminder, this does end up going to planning board and all for both the boundary line adjustment and the project. This is essentially where the owners of the property, so this would be given the permission to do the boundary line adjustment with them through that process.
Thank you. Counselor Felch.
Yeah, so I don't know if it goes with this project or something we need to do separately. But with the new one end of the parking lot being blocked off and everybody's pretty much gonna be entering from one spot, the closest crosswalks we have are at the end of the road and at the theater. I'd like to see another one put in the middle somewhere, probably right next to where this entrance is. We've got all these people parking in this parking lot, but no way to get across the street unless they go, and they're not going to. They're walking across the street without the crosswalks.
Yeah, we've, obviously it's been that way for a while, but agree with you, every time I walk across the street over there, so we'll look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other yes, Counselor Susan?
Maybe a question for one of the representatives of the building with the.
Would you like to come up? Thank you. Hi, Sonia.
Good evening, councilors and mayor. My name is Sonia Mashashik, and I'm a co-owner in Pemmico Realty Holdings, as well as a partner at Mashashik Turpin, the architecture firm that will be on the 3rd floor.
Tasha, my question is this, thank you very much, okay? I see where the property line's gonna get adjusted, I see that's a walkway in one corner. How wide is that walkway gonna be, any idea?
We've spoke with Department of Public Works, and we understand that the minimum is 5 feet. That is necessary for plowing and snow removal and things like that, so it'll be a minimum of 5 feet.
Okay, I just see that little corner, that's what I was looking at, because I can foresee people using the lot to go to the theater, okay, and getting a little bit of a traffic jam there if it's not plowed or iced and all that kind of mess, you know what I'm saying?
Understood.
Okay? And
Yes.
as far as the crosswalk, Mr. Manager, and Tony, thank you for bringing that up. I think right across from that corner where you're putting the elevator in is Canal Street. Okay, so I think a crosswalk right in that area would be very beneficial.
Thank you, Counselor Susie.
Thank you.
Sonia. Okay. Series of 3 motions here this evening. First one is a motion to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2023-29 in its entirety and read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2023-29 relative to a proposed boundary line adjustment between Pemmico Realty Holdings LLC and the City of Laconia. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2023-29 relative to declaring a portion of the city's property at tax map 432-186-5 as surplus property with consideration to the boundary line adjustment between Pemmico Realty Holdings LLC and the City of Laconia as proposed. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Felch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 22C, which is update on the Accept As Is program for those private roads the city has been plowing. Kirk, would you be so kind as to lead us into this?
I will start this off. I asked Director Anderson to put this together on the request of Councilor Cheney to discuss just the status of where we are with the streets, and if you don't mind, I'd call them up. We have a number of streets that you've been working on for quite a few years now, and they're all in a sort of a varying state of acceptance. You have it in front of you, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, and instead of going through each street individually, I don't know if you have questions.
Welcome, Wes.
For the most part, we took some of the easy roads first, short ones to learn first, and we're still going through that process. What you see in that table in front of you are the ones that we either have surveys that are done and we're working with the property owners, or the surveys are in process. For the most part, you can see the 4 that we've got out there. One of the requirements was that 100% of the residents agreed. That was established by the city council. The closest one is Jane's. We've received 5 of the easements out of the 6. And the most recent one is Hillcrest that went out in the July timeframe. We have 14 received out of 35. The others are working. Baker and Margin, we've got copies going back and forth. One of the issues that we found is it takes such a long time to get everything generated. Sales are happening, then we have to go back and, update easements with new property owners and such. If you go to the bottom of the page, you can see on the front, we have 2 streets where the abutters have said they didn't want it to become public. That's Haven and Park. We've stopped the process on those 2. And then we have 3 that are the betterment process, 3 sets. One's Plantation and Colonial, the other is Prescott Ave, August Ave, and the last one is really Hadley, but Hadley's a little bit of a different situation because the planning board required the developer at that time, when they converted it from one farmhouse into a farmhouse plus a new house on it, that they bring it up to city standards, and they never did. So that's why they're still underneath the betterment process for that. Subject to your questions, that's where we're sitting.
Is there any questions? The mayor has stepped out for a minute. So, city manager, what are you looking,
No, we were asked to,
It's information.
for information, and
Oh,
and
okay.
that's
That's all
what
we
we
did.
have.
I think we hit the points on this earlier, so.
Yeah, this is just part of what we tabled
yes,
and
okay,
move forward with.
all right,
Thank you, Wes.
okay. Thank you, Wes. All right. I guess that concludes the meeting. We're adjourned. We are going to a,
Hold on.
We're not adjourned.
No, because you have your non-public coming up.
yes,
so-
I know that.
Yep.
Okay. So, the public meeting is adjourned. We are going into non-public.
We'll vote on that in public, is that right?
Yep. Yep. And we'll move.
Okay, I know.
You know what
We're
the
gonna-
reason,
I
do we know what the reason is?
I don't.
I missed.
The reason to go into non-public session?
Oh, okay. So, agenda item number 25, I'd like to move into non-public session according to RSA 91-A3, Roman 2, parentheses, small d, which is consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community.
Still a citizen.
I think we'll let him stay.
Okay.
So, I don't believe, I think the chamber is cleared appropriately for this, and now I need a vote, right?
We're still live, because
Still
we have to
live.
do the vote.
We're gonna do the vote live?
Yes.
Terrific. So, the roll call, please.
Is someone gonna make the
You need a
motion?
motion.
Oh, and
Make a
second?
motion.
Seconded by Counselor Bogart, seconded by Counselor Haynes.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Littman?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
We'll give her